joy is the fastest path to performance. If you can create an environment where people really, they feel seen, heard, and valued, they enjoy coming to work, they look forward to coming to work.
You've got to create something that people want to participate in. You can't make them, you can't tell them, people are their own entities. They decide for themselves. It's all about working with the people and helping folks get where they want to go and creating something where they want to be part of what's happening.
Empowering people, having people hold themselves and having people hold you as the leader accountable, then you start to cultivate real joy.
Welcome to JOY², Live with Joy. This is the podcast where we get to explore the power of joy, purpose, passion, and fun, and how joy, when practiced intentionally, transforms how we live, work, and lead. I'm your host, Greg De Koker, and I believe that when you live with joy, everything gets better, and I mean everything. And this isn't just about feeling good. It's about unlocking joy as a resource, one that fuels better leadership, meaningful work, and thriving lives. Each week, we share the stories, the insights, and the sparks that ignite more joy, because joy is contagious, it's powerful, and it belongs to all of us. So lean in, stay curious, and let's create more joy together. This is JOY², brought to you by Ascencia Group. Welcome back to JOY², Live with Joy. I'm your host, Greg De Koker, and this podcast explores joy not as a reward or something we earn after success, but as a powerful, intentional force that shapes how we live, work, and lead. And today's episode is part of something I'm really excited about. As many of you know, JOY² is supported by incredible founding sponsors, and our founding title sponsor, Wray, is not only supporting this podcast, but actively helping shape the conversations we're bringing into the world. Each month, Wray joins me as co-host and brings a guest who is influencing leadership, culture, and performance in meaningful ways. And today's guest is someone who brings a powerful combination of deep operational leadership, people-first thinking, and real-world experience, leading transformation across complex organizations. So, Wray, I'm going to hand it over to you to introduce our special guest and to get us started.
Thank you, Greg, and welcome to our listeners. I'm super excited to talk to someone I've known for a long time, Aiden Carey. Aiden has 25 years or more, really successful experience in the mining space. He's managed operations of all sizes, from small scale mining operations to large scale multinational mining organizations. He's approaching in what I see in business has always been rooted in people-centered leadership. He has a keen ability to really make a difference in the operations he's led, through systems, through delivering great results in terms of sales, productivity, and safety. So really is a guy who's got a lot of experience. His track record speaks for itself. He's headed up small operations, large operations, and he truly embodies a people-first approach, placing emphasis on the importance of forward-looking and technical sound shared visions that bring people together and aligns them on their purpose in the business, and to turn that vision into reality. I've known Aiden for a long time, so Aiden, welcome. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on this podcast.
Absolutely. Welcome.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. So Aiden and my relation goes back, heck, probably 15 or 16 years now, when Aiden was one of the senior VPs at Labrador Iron Mines, and he was a client of mine. And I can tell you, the one thing that struck me about Aiden when I knew him back then was he had this energy about him. You know, when he was leading people, when you were in conversations around his operation as the senior VP of operations, he brought a certain amount of energy. People thrived off that energy, and you don't see that kind of energy in people who aren't loving what they're doing. You're not going to see it. So it was obvious from my first engagement with Aiden that he really loved what he's doing. And Aiden has moved on into a consulting role. He's a senior partner with us at Ascencia Group, and it's an absolute joy to have him working and helping other companies unlock their true potential. So, Aiden, let's start with the conversation. Tell us about, how did you manage to show up? in the work that we do together with that excitement and joy, and it's so visible that you are really having fun in what you're doing. So tell us about how that brings joy to you, and how do you, sort of spread that joy and that energy with the people around you.
Well, thanks for the intro, Ray and Greg. Maybe I'll get you boys to write my resume. I'm not sure, but
Uh, Sounds good. Sign me up.
I think it's wrapped up in maybe a little bit of authenticity. I think, it just is the way that we are as leaders. And you see people, and I've always valued in my whole career as I go from, place to place and meet so many people, I've always valued people who take care and enjoy what they're doing and they're good at it. And they always go together. The people who are really good at things love doing it. And I find that to be very, very interesting. And I'm the same. Like, just the enjoyment you get from leading a team of people, helping them achieve their goals, helping them get where they want to be, just gives me a great deal of joy. And we always call it fun in the workplace, right? Work should be fun. We've
Oh,
always said that from the beginning. Ray and I both say that quite often in the leadership development sessions that we do. And and it's okay to say, yeah, let's just go have fun. That sounds like a little bit of goofing off or this or that. And when you put it in the right context, it isn't. Think of a sports team, for example, right? You can play hockey, go out on the ice, have fun, skate around. When you start winning, that's when it really becomes fun. When you actually start achieving things and moving forward, and people are doing great things, and to play a little role in being able to help people do that is the most fun there is.
and Ray, you've always said, it's not worth doing if it isn't fun. Like it's possible to do great work and have fun at the same time, right? Because there's responsibilities, there's metrics you got to meet, and there's, results you got to achieve, and all that stuff, right? And there's performance, and I've been saying for a little while now that joy is the fastest path to performance. If you can create an environment where people really they feel seen, heard, and valued, they enjoy coming to work. They look forward to coming to work, right?
Absolutely.
It's a different conversation. It's a different dynamic. It's a different connection. And it's one that's missing in most organizations because most people don't look forward to coming to work. Yeah, I mean, I'd be curious to, like how do you kind of intentionally create it? Like in, it personally and professionally, like, how do you kinda create that kinda space, that joy, that fun? What are some of the things that have worked for you? Because obviously, your reputation and the fact that you and Ray have worked together for so long is a great sign that, you're a great leader, and the work that you've done, says that as well.
I always say, they went and did a long, exhausting search and looked for the best person, and all they found was me. It's so to me, it's not about trying to be the best person in the room or the smartest person. That's kind of a losing game, I think. I think, but what it is creating that environment. It speaks to culture. You're trying to make that culture where it is fun, that we are doing great things, and people want to be part of it. And that pull seems to take care of most of the performance things that you were just talking. I mean, the negative performance things, the problems, the issues. I've seen so many people who may have been thought of as problematic. When you put great things in front of them and point them in a direction and get them on board with that and agreeing that that's where we've got to go, and you listen to them, all of a sudden the problems melt away. Those people aren't problems anymore. In fact, what I find with a lot of people is you have to listen for what's between the lines. When people are what some people might interpret as problematic, those folks, if you listen correctly, they're actually talking about something. They're frustrated, okay,
Mhm.
and they want something to be better. We can work with that. I mean, that's something we can put the right things in front of those folks. Listen to them, get them on board. Let's go somewhere. Let's do something really great, and they respond to that because those frustrated folks tend to have passion. They can work with passion.
Absolutely right, Aiden. And I've, having worked with you for a while, I see how you are able to turn that passion from a grumble into an energy, because oftentimes people can tend to grumble a lot, and that's a sign of passion when people have got the energy to complain. Let's turn that around. So tell us a bit about how you do that because, I've seen you do that with people and I've seen that come out at the end of a coaching session and a pro shoot program, with a real different energy and vibe.
Yeah, absolutely. I think energy is contagious, and I think positivity is contagious. Not silly positivity, not positivity to the exclusion of the reality of the situation, but looking at the reality of the situation, saying, "Yeah, there are things we can do. There is a path through this. Yeah, it's going to be hard. Things are hard. Not everything's easy. That's fine. That's why we're here. This is learning, right? We've seen so many things in our careers that basically, this is what I say to a lot of people, that nothing's going to happen here that we can't handle. That's why we're here. We can do this. Sure, it'll be hard. We'll figure it out. We're problem solving and doing those kinds of things. Those are challenges that people respond to. I like that.
Yeah. And with all the people we've worked with through our professional supervisor program and as well as our leadership programs that we run, we've seen people grow from frontline supervisors to superintendents to senior managers in organizations, and it's the same people that are just moving up in the ranks. And I can honestly say that several of those people attribute their growth and their success to the work that we've done with them, and in particular, the work that you've done with some of them. So tell us about how that brings joy to you. I mean, you could be sitting at a mining company as a C-suite level person, determining the direction and the productivity of a mine operation, but you're doing what you're doing. Tell us about the energy and the joy that this line of work that we're in and brings to you that you're not the COO of some mining company.
Yeah, that's an interesting question, Ray. That career path was definitely there, and I was certainly on it. I would think that the ability to impact people's lives in a positive way, to help them develop, to help them move forward, to help them, become good leaders, both from a leadership perspective and a technical perspective, right? As they move forward, they do great things, they achieve really good things, they move forward in their career, and when you sit with somebody, and I'll give you an example of one person that I sat with recently, that I sat with pretty much exactly 10 years ago now. That person at that time was a junior supervisor. At this point in time, they're in the management team at this particular place. And that person said to me, he said, you sat with me and told me a whole bunch of things, and you told me that I had the potential. You said I have all the tools, I have the all of that stuff, but I'm doing certain things that are kind of holding me back. And a lot of that was, attitude based and those kinds of things. And so I was able to give that person some pretty strong feedback because I absolutely felt that potential was there. Fast forward 10 years, we're working with that organization again, and that person sat down and said, "Hey, I'm here because of what you told me that day." I spent 2 days with him, but the final closeout conversation, and that's one of many, and it's so pleasing to see people like that achieve those kinds of things in their career, and the joy that you get from that, I don't know, is indescribable. It's a reward of itself. It's a reward in itself. It's something where, even when I was, in a series of operating roles, that was something that gave me a great deal of joy along the way, as well as helping those folks get places. I've worked with so many people in this industry that have now gone on and done great things. I worked with a person here just very recently who, I worked with, and that person has now moved on, and they're at a VP level with the company, and I couldn't be prouder. I couldn't be prouder. It's amazing to see that. So I just love it.
And Aiden, it sounds like you have this natural leadership ability to kind of bring people up and lift people up. I know Ray talked about your energy and your positivity and just your humanity. You just, you're very real, you're very grounded, authentic, and even calling people up. I love that expression about calling people up as opposed to calling them out. Because it sounds like you've seen things in some of the people that you've worked with that maybe they at that time they didn't see in themselves, right? Like, you saw that potential. They didn't believe they had it, but they kind of trusted your belief and in their potential and kind of borrowed your belief in them until they had it, for themselves. And I love that. I had a coach say years ago to a group of people, she's like, "Hey, I believe in all of you." She got to know all of us. And she said, "If you don't believe in your dream or in yourself, right now, borrow mine and you, because I can already see it. I can feel it. It's happening." Right. She's like all in. And, not everyone was all in on their own dream. And it sounds like it's similar. You might not have used those same words or whatever, but just energetically, really getting to know someone at a level where you can connect with them and help them see something that maybe they didn't see at that time. I think that's a wonderful leadership ability.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah, that's a very an excellent way to state it, and I think that's right. You have to see that potential in people and help them achieve it. Like that's really what you're trying to do as a coach, and it's something that is its own reward, And
I've gotten to know you pretty well professionally and personally in the time that we've worked together, and you joined us. We teamed up together, what, in 2020? Yeah, so we've been working together for 6 years, and I probably knew you for 10 years prior to that as a client. So I know you a little bit, and I know the kind of things that really drive joy for you in your personal life, and I know that mounting several cylinders within motor car engines and boat engines really, really. Let's not delve too much into that. You can share some of that with us if you want. But tell us about the things that really do bring some joy to you in your life personally and also professionally, and how do you cultivate the circumstances to have the opportunities to create that joy.
yeah, absolutely. Personally, the I am known as someone who likes his toys, whether that be a snowmobile or a side by side or a jet ski or a boat or a car with lots of power. And fair enough, but when I do those things, they're always family things, right? So for many years it was with the kids. Now it's Kim and I. We go together. I don't go on boats by myself or go on snowmobiles by my like. I don't do that. Like we always do that together. So that's the point is to do really fun things that create memories and allow us to go do things. And time's going to pass. That can't be changed. But if you fill it and you do really fun things, it seems to last longer. And so I like that, right? Time flies. We all say that, and that's fair enough. But you only get to spend it once, so let's do something fun with it. So I like that. Our work lifestyle is like that as well. It's all about working with the people and helping folks get where they want to go, and creating something where they want to be part of what's happening. And so therefore, by definition, you have to create that something. That's what you have to do. That's what we need to do as leaders, whether you're a senior leader or a middle manager leader, even a leader of a crew. You've got to create something that people want to participate in. You can't make them, you can't tell them, you can't like people are their own entities. They decide for themselves. And sure, they'll decide to show up at work, and maybe that's what it is, and their motivations outside of work. And we all have motivations outside of work. And so, a lot of people, their motivation is not to move up in an organization or climb the ladder or any of that stuff. They want to come to work, be safe, make a little bit of money. Everybody's happy, go home and enjoy their life with their family. And I think we're all like that to a certain extent. I think that this is where, in the conversation, we'll introduce the concept of vision and the power of vision. And when you're creating that something to put in front of people that they want to be a part of, that's really what you're doing, is you're creating a vision that they see themselves enjoying, liking, participating in, moving forward. That's how you get them, to do that, go that extra mile, do that extra thing to really participate, to really not be that person who's just showing up, right? So, like I said, by definition, if you're creating something that they want to be part of, you've got to define it, and that's really what vision is, I think.
So
I guess it's like literally getting people on the same page. You're talking about like, and people want to make a difference. I think that's a human quality. Like it's some level, big or small. Yeah. Like everyone wants to make a difference. And I think when you help to create and clarify what that difference is, hey, this is what we're up to. We all have different roles in the company, but this is how we're all contributing to this overall vision. It is exciting and it's galvanizing and it's special. And I love when you talk about showing up because I think one of the problems with people, with a lot of employees today, the majority of employees is they're showing up at work, but they're not showing up. They're quietly quitting is a term that, Gallup came up with, I don't know, a few years back, right? I mean, they're kinda doing the bare minimum. Yeah, they're not really feeling they don't feel it's safe to kinda share their feedback, and, I've talked to leaders and I'll say, "Could you ask any of your team members, do you enjoy coming to work? Do you like being at work?" Because that's a big question, right? And if they don't trust the leader, and if you haven't built that relationship up and built that trust up, they don't feel safe telling them that, no, they don't actually enjoy their job or they don't look forward to coming to work or Sunday's the worst day of the week because it begins their work week, right? Whatever that might be. And, it's really trying to change the conversation so that leaders don't look at that as like, oh, wow, they don't, Jim doesn't like his job. Let's fire Jim. It's like, oh, wow, Jim doesn't like his job. I wonder why he doesn't. What could I do as a leader to create a better work environment? Does he need a different role? Does he need some training? Does he feel like he can give me feedback? And it may not be that might not be the first question you ask your team members. Do you like your job? Do you enjoy coming here? But maybe it starts off with, anything I can do to support you today. How's your day going? Right. And there's lots of different ways. And I'm sure, you have 1,000 different ways in your toolbox with all the, conversations that, both you and Ray have had with clients. So, but I love that distinction and I love how important vision, has been for you and how you've helped create that for your clients and your teams. Very cool.
I think that, in our consulting lives, and Ray can speak to this at least as well as I can, we hear people a lot expressing some frustration. I just wish everybody would be on the same page or pull in the same direction or, all of that. Okay. All right. The first question is, what direction? What are the things? Which way are we going? Have you identified that? Have you nailed it down? Have you put it in front of them? Did you get them to agree with that? Have you, have you done that at multiple layers of your organization? And then they're, well, no. So you want people to be on the same page, but you haven't written anything on that page. Let's put that direction in front of them. Let's do the work. Let's see what they think, how they can contribute. And once you do that and it all comes together, now you've got a team of people who at least has an opportunity to be on that identified same page, to use that terminology, right? To understand that consistent vision and then let's go achieve it. And then the other one we hear, which is another facet of the same phenomenon, is really just, we hear this word accountability, and it's exactly the same conversation. Okay, accountable to what? And, let's define that. And then people understand it. And then accountability doesn't, have some kind of enforcement sort of overtone. It's like we're all working together. This is my part of it. This is your part of it. Let's be accountable to each other, using it in a positive, context. Yeah, I need to do this because the team's depending on me and it's important. It fulfills our vision. And so that's how you do accountability in a positive sense, right?
In Aiden, I think it helps manage personal preferences too. I agree with everything you just said, and I love everything you just said. And I think also having that vision, also creates an opportunity for people to give each other feedback in a in an in ideally in a non-personal way, right? Where we're and again creating an environment where people are open to that, where it's safe to give feedback. I think people always want to improve, but they don't want to be criticized, right? They want to be recognized. And there's a number, and I've read a few different articles that you need to kind of, give your employee seven. You need to kind of give them recognition 7, 8, 9 times, whatever the number is, in order to earn the opportunity to give them constructive criticism, in order to build up the trust enough where they're open to hearing that. Because if it's all constructive criticism, it's not constructive. it's it's an oxymoron, right? It's just not constructive. It's not helpful.
I've looked at that, right? I mean, all of us who've been in management in our careers, we've all had to discipline people and hold people accountable, call it what you want, right? And what I find is quite often, if you really step back and think about that whole process and you say, okay, I've got a good person Okay. They're doing the best they can. They're using their best judgment. And even though all those things are there, something went wrong. Okay. And so, right at that moment, that person who's putting forth a good effort, doing it for the right reason, is a good person. And then their boss is going to come along and kick them in the butt. Right? It's actually not what they need. At that moment, what they actually need is support. Okay? Because no one's going to be harder on them, their boss or anybody else in the organization, than they are, assuming those pre existing conditions that I just talked about. And if that's the case, you start to look at those things in a different light, right? I'm not saying that there's no place for the enforcement tools in the workplace. Obviously, it's a set of tools that are there. We consider them to be a set of tools of last resort. Um, you know, fair enough. Um, but at the same time, um, self accountability is the best kind of accountability. And
Absolutely. And
so I
through
always
through all the
that,
through all the things you talked about,
yeah,
Aiden, and I just love the way you bring the accountability piece into living, leading, and working with joy, because the context, they can think that working with joy and leading with joy is this soft, fluffy, feeling good thing, but it's not. It's actually empowering people and having people hold themselves and having people hold you as the leader accountable. Then you start to cultivate
absolutely.
real joy. So I really love the way you put that into context.
Yeah. Like I said, it comes from winning, really, right? And winning, you can use all the words you want, but let's create that high performance culture. Let's create an organization that is achieving things, that's moving forward, that's getting there, that's doing all those things, and that's where people like it. And accountability is part of that. And again, you're creating that environment where mostly it's self accountability, right? If you can do that. I've always said, and Ray and I say quite a bit, people do things because that's what they want to do. And if you think about it, then, okay, if people do things for their reasons, not our reasons, what's our job as leaders then? Create the conditions, get them to want to, not make them, not, any of that. Let's use the power of leadership to get them to want to do what's correct for the organization. And once you do that, off we go. Now we have people with that self accountability.
Almost like an invitation sometimes. I do love that word, like you're inviting them into the conversation, into the culture, into the vision, and in however way that kind of, works for you and for them. And I also love the definition of the platinum rule versus the golden rule, Aiden. I don't know if the golden rule ever we've heard over and over again, which is treat other people the way they want, or sorry, the way that we want to be treated, right? Treat people the way that we want to be treated, because most people want to be treated well. And then the platinum rule, is treat people the way that they want to be treated. It takes the relationship up a level because not everyone wants to be treated exactly like the way that we want to be treated. So, what do they like? What's important to them? Is it recognition? Is it money? Is it reward? Is it incentives? Is it raises, promotions? Is it just having conversations and getting to know them? There's so many different layers when you're building a relationship. And I think often now in companies, there isn't enough time kind of built into getting to know each other, at a personal level. And I've been asking a lot of people, I mean, just along those lines, a lot of senior executives, and I'll say, what do you think the typical senior level executive would think if they heard laughter in the hallway from the team? Like they're laughing, they're over, they're having a, and in the response, the typical senior leader is right. We all know it is, oh, they're wasting time, they're being unprofessional, they're goofing around, they're wasting energy. Yeah, they're goofing off. And as opposed to, listening to that, and as a leader thinking, wow, what a great job we did hiring. We really found a team that likes working together, right? That enjoys working together. And imagine how that translates into performance, right? Into them being happy, into them looking forward to coming to work and sharing ideas. They're not coming in and punching the clock at that point. They're thinking like a leader. They're thinking like an owner. How can I make this place better? Our team, our company. How can I do more? So yeah, it's really special when you can create that, with people and lead, with joy and lead from joy.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think, having a personal relationship with the people that you're working with, I think goes a very long way, you know? It just basically says that as a leader, yeah, we've got lots to do. There are many goals to accomplish. There's all of this stuff, and that's fine. But yet I still have the time to talk to people and understand about them and relate to them a little bit and basically says to them that I actually care enough to be interested and know. And so it's a demonstration of caring in that sense, right? When people think you care about them, they act differently than if they think you don't care. And I've seen both cases where they think you don't care when you do care, and they think you do care when someone doesn't care. And but that always gets found out at the end, right?
And that brings up I love the caring, part too, because, I was talking to a senior leader and, and he was talking about culture and just, the way that he, treats his team and his people. And I just said straight up, I said, "Do you really care about your team? Like, honestly, do you really care about them?" He's like, "Yeah, of course, of course I do." And I said, "Well, and do they know that?" Because there's 2 levels, right? He may really care, but is he showing it through his actions or, and through his words and everything else? Do they know how much, he cares? And often people don't either, may look like the leader doesn't care, by the way, either performance driven and it's all about that. And they're focused on the mistakes, not looking at it as like, okay, well, it's unfortunate that happened, but it happened. Well, let's use it as a way to learn, what works and what doesn't work, right? Let's look at it as a lesson and a way to kind of build that connection and communication, and align it to vision, like you talked about, like what maybe that, wasn't consistent with where we were at. Maybe we didn't use that vision as a strategic decision-making filter for that thing, and something went sideways. But it's an amazing opportunity for them to learn and the team to learn and to get closer versus further apart.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a very large piece of performance at work is the human relationships. I think I often say to people that your overall effectiveness at work is going to be directly correlated to the quality of the relationships you're able to create with the people around you.
And one of the best ways we can show people we care about them is get to know them. Okay, just get to know them, get to know who they are, get to know what's happening in their lives, and that is the easiest way to build that relationship of trust and of caring with people. So, Aiden, you've left us with many different thoughts. I really like the way you brought that sort of self accountability into leading with joy. And is there any final thought you'd like to leave with our listeners before we wrap up in terms of a parting message?
I don't know, Ray. I think that very good conversation. I think that all of those things are important for leadership. I think it's something we have to recognize, in a lot of industries today. People want to be part of something that they can be proud of. And Greg, you said earlier, people do want to contribute, and I absolutely believe that. And I think that that's important. And helping to create that situation where they can do what they want to do, they can make that contribution that's value that people understand. We know it. I think that is extremely powerful. I think that is something we should all be working towards.
Absolutely. Thank you, Aiden. And I mean, what you're saying in all of that is, as leaders, living and leading with joy is in our hands. We create that environment where people are able to lead with joy and at the same time to be successful and to feel like winners. Okay. That's in our hands as leaders. So I really love that. Aiden, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure having this conversation with you. And I'll be talking to you shortly.
Yeah, Aiden, I echo, what Ray said as well. I mean, it's really been a powerful conversation and a real conversation. And I really appreciate your perspective. Like, I just bring together, performance and vision and people and in a way that feels like both grounded and human. And it sounds weird to say, but you really bring humanity into the equation in a big way. And I think that's something that's missing. I think it's something that's really needed. And I really love the way that you share your ideas because it's just so real. So, I mean, one thing that stands out for me is just like when you have these complex environments that leaders are often focusing on systems and processes and results, they don't always focus on what's underneath all that, and that's the people. right? And when people feel aligned and understood and connected to a shared vision, as you mentioned, performance follows. And maybe that's where joy quietly lives. We're trying to make it less quiet. We want to bring joy out in a bigger way and really help change the conversation and not so much add more to leaders' plates, but shift the way that they lead. Because I truly believe, and I know Ray does too, that joy is the fastest path to performance.
Mhm.
And then I'd say to everyone listening, yeah, thank
Thank
you for your time and energy. We know you have choices,
you.
and thanks for choosing, JOY². And if something resonated
Yeah,
today,
sure.
take a moment this week to, bring more clarity to your team, simplify something, align something, connect with someone. Because when people are aligned, everything changes. So we'll see you next time on JOY², Live with Joy. Cheers.
Thanks, Greg.
Yes, thank
Have
you,
fun.
Greg.
Thanks for spending this time with us on JOY², where joy multiplies and everything gets better. Remember, joy isn't just something you feel, it's something you create and it's something you pass on. If this conversation sparks something in you, share it because joy is contagious. What we're building here is bigger than a podcast. It's a reminder and a movement that how we live, work, and lead truly matters. Until next time, live with joy, lead with purpose, and never forget to have fun. Keep choosing joy squared. And if you're enjoying the journey, we'd be grateful if you subscribe, like, and share JOY² so the ripple keeps spreading.